Welcome into the Gramlich and Mac Lane podcast, presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and Mac Lane. Mac, we're back with our summer guest series. We took the week off because of my birthday, Mac,
of course.
right?
I'm surprised we didn't take the month off, to be honest. I always am, because your birthday needs to be celebrated.
Thank you.
Also not believe, I say this every year, I cannot believe America has the audacity to think they can share a birthday week with you, Kelly. So that's bizarre.
Agreed. I also can't believe I turned 29 again. That is shocking.
Third straight year. Let's go.
Third straight year. Yeah, I love being 29. But we hope everyone had a great July 4th. Before we get to our special guest today, Ross Dellenger, by the way, senior college football writer for Yahoo Sports. So excited about this one. This dude is connected. Like, if someone tries to tell you, oh, I'm connected, no. Ross is connected. So we've got a lot to discuss with him in the world of college football. But again, happy 4th to those who celebrated and happy my birthday week. Mac, I was actually up in the mountains for July 4th, up in Asheville.
The motherland.
Home, yes, the home of Ingles Markets, which we love. And of course, where we were staying, there's an Ingles right by the house we're staying at, which is just clutch. So we got everything we needed there, did a big cookout on July 4th. Shout out to my husband, man in the grill, and some charcuterie boards, like the works, and able to get stuff because we have some smaller kids in the family now. We can get all that too, right?
Yeah.
So we can get everything we need there at Ingles, and we appreciate them. I just love going up there. It feels like if you go to Asheville and you don't go to Ingles,
something wrong with you.
What is wrong with you?
It's honestly like people travel there for that. Like
it's the
they
homeland.
come there to do it. I have a question. You mentioned boards and things of that nature. Did you do a berry board for Jacob? Was that in the mix?
We didn't necessarily do a full berry board, but the man, my child, he eats berries 24/7, 365. Do you know what he's really into right now, though?
Whoa,
and tell me if Amelia is. Watermelon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, day one, Amelia is a watermelon girl.
Is like one of the ways that I know that God loves us is that he created watermelon. Watermelon is so dang good, Mac.
1,000%. I will say Amelia is on a peaches kick right now.
Oh, yes.
And she made this sweet, sweet little video. She goes, I love peaches. It's so fun. It should be a commercial for South Carolina peaches. If you guys are listening, hit me up. We can send that to you and we can make it happen. But big shout out to Ingles. Like you said, we did some great cooking out as well down at the beach in Charleston. It's always a fun time. Bring our food down there and then we cook it up. So I'm sure you guys saw that on social media. If not, it's a new week. Maybe you'll see some more this week. We'll see. But anyway, great episode with our friend Ross. He was exceptional. Great info. I tried to pull some opinions out of him, but hey, he's a reporter. He's telling you
no.
what other people tell him.
I just got facts, baby.
That's right. Just facts. That's what he does. So anyway, let's get to a message from our friends over at Ingles, and then we sit down with Ross.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department? Or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Ross Dellenger joining us, and we're really excited for this one. Actually, I'll take it behind the scenes. Mac knows I'm excited just because I'm a little bit of a fan here of Ross and just stuff he's written and all that. So Ross, welcome to our show. We really appreciate your time. And we're going to dive into some of the crazy stuff that's going on with college football. But as you mentioned, we're recording this June 30th. So July 1st is tomorrow. Rev share kicks in, all that. Hopefully it will be a quieter week. But you said this morning, you were already slammed with different things going on.
Yeah, it's never really completely slow, even on Monday of the holiday week in the middle of the summer. It's no real off season anymore.
It really isn't. And I do want to provide a little color here, Ross. KG sent me like 6 texts in a row just about this interview. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, yeah, he's a big deal and he's going to be here. We're super excited to talk with you just because, you are a great voice in this sport. And, I just feel like as things have changed so much, man, you've been on top of it and you do such a great job with your work and the things that you write. And let's kind of start with NIL, as KG just alluded to, and we danced a little bit around before we started. And, it is a very interesting place where we are now, where the thing that nobody wanted, pay for play, now these schools are paying these people, these student athletes directly. What are some of the quarrels? What are some things that you've heard that are good that, some of the Power 5, Power 4 athletic directors are excited about where this is?
Well, I think, the fact that schools can now directly compensate athletes, the hope there is that the compensation system will be a little more stable and controlled, I guess you might say. We've obviously seen the last 3-4 years the compensation coming from boosters or groups of boosters, and often they're often just sometimes issues with that. Although these booster collectives have gotten more stable, I think there still is the issue with all of this coming kind of from a third party, and the issues that comes with. So I think there's a hope that money coming directly from the school will bring a little stability, but certainly there are tons of kind of unanswered questions about all this, including the fact that a lot of booster collectives, which I just talked about, aren't necessarily going away. So I think there's still a part of this in for some that sort of defeats the purpose of a lot of this. So it's not perfect, and I'm sure we're going to have issues when popping up over the next few weeks, if not months.
Yeah, that was kind of my next question was, what do we see coming out of this? We all know it's going to be happening. For us, it's tomorrow, July 1st, rev share kicks in. It feels like there's still some legal issues out there. You had an article come out today about collective bargaining, which is really interesting. Could that actually be maybe better for the ADs and not as good for the players? Like, that's a fascinating situation. Give us maybe one or two things you're really watching in the next couple months or 6-month span of some sort of legal issues that you think could arise. Like, I know we're not done. It's not just fixed. So what are one or two things you see coming down the pike?
Yeah, I think you look at the settlement again as kind of like a sort of a partial solution to all this. There are several, I think, legal issues that the settlement raises. So I think mainly probably 3 or 4 different parts of the settlement I think you'll see litigation over, more lawsuits against the NCAA and the power conferences. I think one of them is the fact that there is a cap on player compensation from schools. I think you'll see probably challenges to that. I think you'll see challenges to the new roster limits that have been implemented. I think you'll see challenges to these revenue share contracts. We've already seen some litigation over that. The new revenue share contracts that schools are striking with players and the concepts that are in them. There'll be legal issues with that, and then maybe most notably, we'll probably see litigation over the NIL clearinghouse, the new NIL Go clearinghouse that is supposed to clear or not clear third-party endorsement and commercial deals that players strike with those outside of the university. It's basically a way to police and prohibit booster pay, and I think there's a lot of questions over how legal that is, whether that's legal at all, and so you have all these issues that could really pop up, all these other lawsuits, and we're going to kind of find out over the coming weeks and months if the settlement can kind of stand the legal test. I think most believe that eventually it won't, and that parts of it will be sued over, and that could impact the future of college athletics, which leads, of course, to as you mentioned, the collective bargaining kind of piece of all this. The settlement does allow collective bargaining, and a lot of athletic administrators are starting to come forward to encourage more of the industry leaders and commissioners to explore more on collective bargaining and how that could work in college.
Is that ultimately what you think is the solution there? Because it is such a fascinating thing. You make a declaration or a new rule or whatever, and then you just get sued for it, right? And it's like, okay, well, we can't ever get to this finish line. How do you get rid of that? How do you get away from it? Is it a super league? Is it, the players coming together and having that union type thing? I mean, what is the answer here to have, kind of long-term, things that are written down that we're not just getting sued every other day for?
Yeah. I mean, I think, a lot of the ADs who do support some collective bargaining support it because they believe that it is inevitable and it is the thing that will resolve what you're talking about. It will resolve all of these lawsuits and protect college athletics from continually getting sued. If you strike a deal, bargain a deal, an agreement with players, then you're sort of protected, under the labor exemption or whatever all those legal terms are, and you're protected from antitrust lawsuits is the kind of the bottom line. But it's really complicated, as we kind of explored in that story. It's not easy at all making it work, because really athletes have to be deemed employees first to make all that work. There's suggestions that you have a non-employment collective bargaining, but you'd have to rely on Congress to pass something there, and it's certainly a divided time there, and it's hard to get anything passed. So it's a tough situation, and I think for the immediate future, I think college athletics is just kind of in this space of hoping the settlement works and hoping the settlement, at least for a couple of years, stands the legal test.
And then do you allow collective bargaining and employee status for just football, for football, men's basketball? Like, what do you, it's just, it feels like we're getting some answers, and I think that should be encouraging for fans, but there's still a lot left to discuss. So basically keep following Ross and reading what he puts out to see what the heck's going to happen. Let's talk about the playoff here, Ross, and expansion. I was reading some of your latest stuff. From what you were saying, it seems the ADs in general, the Power 4 ADs, are in favor of expansion itself, going to 16. Like, that's probably going to happen, but we don't know how we're going to get there. Can you kind of tell us about that divide between the SEC Big 10 and ACC Big 12? Obviously, the ACC Big 12 want more auto bids. And then where do you think this ends up?
Well, I think you got to go back to about a year and a half ago. The CFP contract comes open after next year. And so last spring, the CFP executives got together, the commissioners, and struck a new deal, an extension of 6 years through 2031 with ESPN that kind of binded everybody together for a few more years as the CFP as an entity. But before they did that, the SEC and Big Ten basically threatened to leave, threatened to go do their own playoff. And in order for them to stay, there were some compromises made with everybody else, which was granting the SEC and Big Ten, more autonomy when it came to future playoff format and what a future playoff format looks like. So they basically control the future playoff format starting in 2026, which is the start of the new contract. And they both, have to agree. Rich Clark, the CFP executive director, kind of came out and clarified that a couple weeks ago. Both the SEC and Big Ten sort of have to agree for any format to move forward. And right now they don't agree. It would seem the SEC, the Big Ten, is behind a playoff format has more automatic qualifiers, as four for the SEC and the Big Ten, 2 for the ACC and the Big 12, 1 for the Group of 5, and then 3 at large. And though I think many in the SEC athletic director room were for that format and would we're pretty close to maybe seriously, having a vote in agreeing to that. But about a month ago at SEC spring meetings, the head coaches came out publicly after meetings with the ADs against it. And that has sort of kind of stopped conversations between the two leagues. And I think it's sort of created an impasse between the two leagues on a future format. And I think the coaches were against the format for a few reasons. One, it would probably call for them to play a ninth SEC game, right, which they've been against for a while. It would call them to play really actually a 10th SEC game, because they'd play a play-in game too. And then I think there was data shown to them by SEC administrators that showed that with a playoff format with a bigger at-large pool, the SEC would get more teams potentially in than just the 4 that were guaranteed to it in the AQ format. So right now, the commissioners met about a week and a half ago in Asheville, North Carolina, and it was the latest CFP meeting where Rich Clark and his team, including a couple of mathematicians and someone from Google, like data, basically made a presentation over sort of how they can change the selection committee process with specifics to what kind of data they use, what kind of data the selection committee uses. And the whole point is really to appease the SEC and the Big Ten, but mostly the SEC, in appeasing them by strengthening how much the committee values strength of schedule, I guess. And so that's kind of where it is right now. I would expect that we are many weeks, if not months, away from some kind of resolution, because I don't know that the Big Ten is going to agree on any format that has a big at-large pool if the SEC doesn't go to 9 conference games, because the Big Ten currently plays 9 conference games. So they do seem to be at sort of an impasse, and there's not any other imminent meetings scheduled right now. So continues to plod along.
Is there any way we stay at 12?
Yeah, definitely.
Please.
It's been it's sort of been more and more obvious that that's going to happen, at least in 2026, because there's a deadline of December 1 for them to sort of decide on what the 2026 format is. And they could maybe agree by that time, but I'm willing to bet that they don't. And I think they're probably, it seems like every day the odds are increasing in that there will be a no change to the format, and that it will stay at 12 teams, and the SEC will stay at 8 conference games, and they'll continue to negotiate this issue through 2026.
What are your thoughts on this, man? Because you're so connected and you're talking to a bunch of different people. I'm not saying you saying it made this happen, but just hearing that, I am exhausted. I mean, just we're bringing in mathematicians and all these different things. What do we talk? It's football. Let's line up and let's play. And it's just, you look at this year and you look at all those SEC teams that got in, and a lot of them got whipped. And so at the end of the day, to me, it's just let's let the best go out there, whatever that looks like, and let's go to work. And you had people screaming and shouting what the best is, and we don't want most deserving, we want this and that, and it's just I don't know. So your opinion, if you were the commissioner, what's your playoff, and how do you get in? What does it look like? Are you doing AQs? What's your thing?
Yeah, I try not to, obviously I'm not a columnist, right? I try not to put my opinion out there as much, but I've obviously followed this issue for a while and covered it probably since 2018 or so. And I think there's a lot of people frustrated with just the indecision right now. And I think the more and more you have human beings, a subjective sort of committee, decide the field, the more and more criticism and issues that you'll have. So if there is any way where you can determine playoff participants literally on the field through a conference standing like the NFL sort of does, like this multiple AQ format, probably the better to avoid criticism. We've seen over the last 2 to 3 years, especially, how much criticism that the CFP selection committee has gotten. I mean, several, I believe, chairs of the committee needed security at their home after some of the selections. So there's probably a need to try to avoid some of that, and you do that by limiting kind of the role of the committee. So I think that's probably where college football needs to start. But I understand that, every college sports championship in the under the NCAA umbrella, at least in the CFP, decides a field on a committee. That's just like long time college sports sort of way to do it, method to do it. But we've seen, I think, a lot in college sports change and evolve. And maybe this is an area that needs to evolve as well.
Yeah, less is more maybe with a committee. I mean, I still think less is more in terms of teams, but there's no way we're going back from the TV revenue standpoint. Let's transition here, Ross, a little bit to some ACC talk, and specifically what we've seen with the ACC and the different levels of revenue share, and kind of you're able to earn more, right? This is all interesting. We also saw Clemson and Notre Dame schedule this series for 12 years, starting in 2027, I believe. How long do you feel like this, for lack of a better term, Band-Aid can work with the ACC?
Probably not very long. I think the fact that they agreed on a lower exit fee is a pretty good sign that they're going to exit at some point. So, and the fact that by whatever it is, 2030 or so, it's to $80 million, I think is probably a good time frame to for sort of those exits to happen. The span between 2029 and 2032 is a pretty big stretch in college athletics, where you could see real major changes and major shifts in the landscape again, like you saw last year, basically with conference realignment. I think we'll see that again because of a bunch of factors. The Big 12 TV deal comes open over that span. The Big 10 TV deal comes up over that span as well. The college football playoff contract ends in 2031. The NCAA men's basketball and women's basketball tournaments contracts come open in 2032. So there's a lot could happen, I think, over the course of those years, and I would think that would be a stretch where you could see movement. Of course, those programs have to have a place to go, which kind of was an issue for Florida State and Clemson this past year, is that they really didn't have sort of a place to go immediately. Something tells me that probably will change in the coming years as the interest from other leagues spurs other leagues to then be interested. I think that probably is the way it will unfold. And, I think the ACC probably will look a lot different in 2032, 2031.
Yeah, it's all those dates that you just threw out there. It is keep paying attention to your calendar, right? Like things are going to evolve very quickly and very linear there with the years back to back to back and different things that are happening. When you talk to all these people, and I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, do people want a different league? Do people want to get away from the NCAA for football specifically, have a new entity, a new division, a new league? I don't know what you want to call it. Is there interest there from, you don't obviously need to tell us names, but from power players in this sport?
No, not really. I don't get that sense. I think everybody quite likes their conferences and where they are. and who they have in their conferences, and I think they probably prefer to keep that. That's probably it might not necessarily be for the greater good of college athletics, because most will tell you that a consolidated media TV deal among all those in the FBS or all those in the power conferences would probably be a better setup financially, and to share the resources a little more evenly is probably better for everyone. But no one thinks about everyone in college athletics. They think about their conference and their school,
right,
or their sport. And that's kind of where we are. And so until that thinking changes, or until they get to some kind of breaking point of some sort where they no longer can push forward, I don't think there will be consolidation. I know there's a lot of talk about the Super League sort of thing. Could that happen in that span of like I just talked about, the 2030, 32 span? Sure, that seems a little early again for that to happen, but the revenue share concept that's coming to college athletics and arriving here this week will I think potentially expedite that, because there will continue to be more the gaps among the schools in FBS, Division I, FBS, even within the power conferences, will continue to grow. Rev share will only grow those gaps, and so eventually there will be a breaking point where where even those who don't want sort of a consolidated league or big division will really have no choice. That's kind of what it will drift to. It's kind of like the microcosm of that was what happened with conference realignment, where the big brands sort of gather together. And economists will tell you that's just natural in any kind of capitalistic society, or the big brands gather together because they're more valuable together. And I think you probably will eventually see that happen on a grander scale, not just conference realignment, but conference consolidation.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Okay, I read this article when it came out. I reread it for this because one of the more interesting brands and stories right now in college football, and seeing where they end up eventually, is SMU, a team that made the playoff this past year and was in the group of 5 just a couple of years ago. The article that you wrote about how they ended up in the ACC effectively, when you talk about that room that they pulled together of their boosters, and they were talking about trying to get in the Pac-12 initially and then eventually in the ACC, and you said that you estimate the net worth of that room was $15 billion. It just feels like that's a different level. Now, I know Bama boosters have money, Ohio State boosters have money, like the list goes on, but SMU's in that ballpark. Like, can SMU be one of those teams where from the start of this decade to the end, when all those things start coming up in the early 2030s, we see them even jumping to maybe one of the Power Two? Like, where do you see SMU's future going?
Yeah, right now, the way that college sports is evolving, all the sort of the handcuffs are kind of coming off. The cost containment handcuffs are coming off. The whole kind of sort of legislative competitive equity is no longer. To a degree, you have it in the new College Sports Commission, but as far as NCAA rules and such, all that is pretty much gone. So if you take off those handcuffs, it allows the schools with the most money to thrive. And I think SMU is a place that has a lot of donors and boosters, whatever you want to call them, alums, who certainly have a lot of money and are very passionate about returning to the days of 40 years ago, and when they got the death penalty from the NCAA. And I think there's a lot of passion to get SMU back there, and the basically buying into the ACC was one of the steps, toward that happening. And I think going forward, again, in a world where money is so important right now more than ever, and there's not as many cost sort of constrainments. I think that SMU and any program with a board and alums that have that much money can't be counted out to be, the next to make the next step, right, in this progression, whether that's some kind of, big combo consolidated league or division in 5, 10, 15 years. But I think the biggest point of this is that you have to win still, right? Like, you got to still, and especially at football, that has been the biggest point we've seen in a lot of these moves in the future. You can have all the money you want, but that money has to transition into win, specifically in football on the field. So they've got to keep winning in football, and they know that. And I think they're pouring a lot of resources into that.
They certainly are, and it's going to be fun to see just what does the encore look like this year. I mean, you go undefeated in the ACC your first year in, you go to the ACC championship, you make the playoff, all these different things. Well, now you have your head coach, your coordinator, and your quarterback back. So we want to see more, right? We want to see that continue to progress, brand new facility, all these different things that should equate to wins on the football field. Talking about you have to win, how about UNC making the splashiest hire in college football this offseason, and Coach Belichick, the best NFL coach ever, maybe, that some would argue, with Super Bowls and the way he executed the plan, all these different things. And there's been some drama this offseason. I mean, a guy that had none his entire career in regards to distractions. Now it seems like that's what people more so want to talk about than on the field. So how did you guys evaluate? I know you have written about it, kind of their spring, and what just are the expectations for UNC in this first year with Coach B?
Yeah, you look at their schedule actually, and it's pretty doable to get to 7, 8, 9 wins actually. Obviously they had, as you mentioned, there's been some drama this offseason. I went to ACC spring meetings back in early May, and got a chance to talk to him just very briefly, Coach Belichick. But the big buzz at the meetings was his girlfriend, which is really never what you want necessarily, but that's kind of what it was. And I think he did an interview there on SportsCenter, and they asked him about that. It is it's an odd thing there, because as one of his former employees told me this past spring, his entire career, he avoided the exact thing that we're sort of seeing. So it's bizarre, especially from those who have coached under him. But of course, none of this matters if they go 10-2 and make the playoffs. So it doesn't matter. None of this matters. If they go 2-10, it matters greatly and will be used against you. That's just how it always is.
Absolutely. Okay, Ross, well, we appreciate your time. We know you're a busy man. Probably some news has broken during this, and you've got to go handle it. I have more of a off-topic, somewhat personal question, but when I think of, okay, what's the craziest college football news moment that I can remember in my last roughly decade being involved in the college football media space? For me, it's the OU Texas news. I think everyone kind of remembers where they were when that happened. You were a big part of breaking that and being a part of that. Is that it for you? When you think back to all this change in your career, all this change we've seen in the sport, is OU Texas the moment where you said oh bleep? Or is there another one that maybe did it even more for you?
Yeah, the OU Texas was that was pretty crazy. I was actually at SEC Media Days,
right,
standing, having a conversation with the Texas A&M athletic director, Ross Bjork. he had to step away for a call from his president, and within seconds, that's when the news broke. And then he came back, and I think I had the first interview with him because he was right there. I had the first interview with him, so that was crazy. But for me, it actually goes back to my days as a beat writer, covering LSU. I was in a car with my computer open in the parking lot of LSU's football operations building, watching new interim coach Ed Orgeron walk into the building after Les Miles was fired, and was able to break the news there in the car with the laptop that Les Miles was fired, and Ed Orgeron was the interim coach. And I just think back at my career, and 2 years later, I got the job national covering college football for Sports Illustrated. That was just like probably the biggest sort of breaking news of my career to that point that helped sort of launch me. And so that one always sticks out. And of course, where I was, just in the actual parking lot watching this all unfold and having my laptop out, all that.
Who's that guy walking in there?
There's nothing that says I'm a beat writer than having to break that down in your car.
That's right.
That was huge news. That was, and I know you're from Louisiana too. Like, that was a big deal when all that went down.
Yep. Yeah, it was. It was pretty crazy span of a few hours because the team had just got back in, and the media just got back in from a game at Auburn, and they had lost the night before. So it was just a crazy span of a few hours that kind of is sort of unforgettable.
Yeah, no question about it. Ross, this was super fun, man. Cheers to maybe a couple more hours without something super surprising.
Yeah.
Maybe put your feet up because the football season's right here, and we're all going to be sprinting really quickly. Appreciate you, man. It was great talking with you.
Good to be on.